Roger, copy.
Via StreamYard. So Mitchie's setting that up at the moment, and then once we get the signal, we'll get started.
Thank you.
And
I'll be. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we got a video that we'll kind of like kick things off with, and then turn it over for you guys.
Nice. Thank you. And Pablo, I'll be back in London at the end of next week and for the following week, and handling a bunch of things over there as well when I'm back at the club.
Awesome. Cool.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
Well,
We are live now, I guess. So GM everyone, happy Thursday. We got a super cool guest, super cool discussion coming up here today. Excited to be coming at you live from all over. We're all over the place, but yeah, we're on X and YouTube and everywhere else right now. So we are going to kick things off with a video just to introduce Lonestar and what they're working on. They've done 2 missions now to the moon, which is pretty amazing, working on data centers off-world and backing up humanity off-world. So let me just stream here, and we'll kick off this video.
NASA astronaut Nicole Stott, and together we are Lonestar. We live in an age of digital wonder. We are experiencing a digital renaissance. Every day, the human race creates over 2.5 quintillion bytes of new data. That's over 1,000 petabytes of new data more than yesterday, and it's doubling every 2 years. We are truly living in a data-defined world. The data we create drives every aspect of our lives. More, it is the very beating heart of our technological civilization. Yet, while that data is so vital, it is also increasingly fragile. As its value continues to increase, the more at risk it becomes from loss, from theft, from network intrusions to nation-state attacks, from natural disasters to climate change, from human error to ransomware. We are at serious risk of losing the data that literally runs our modern world and is the foundation of our everyday lives. So what if we could do something about this? Well, now we can. Lonestar is working to save all our data by utilizing the largest satellite in our skies, the Moon. A place so ideal for global data storage that if it wasn't there, we'd have to build it. 400,000 kilometers away. No climate change, no atmosphere. 24/7 connectivity, leveraging the latest in delay-tolerant networks, enabling broadband links to every nation on Earth. Even more, by utilizing the Moon's natural environment that provides access to a limitless and sustainable energy supply and to a built-in natural source of cooling, all suited to the task of backing up all of our planet's data. How are we doing this? By building on 60 years of return on investment from development and operations associated with space exploration and Silicon Valley. By building a team drawn from the very best of the data center and satellite industries. And more, by working with the best in class of providers to launch a whole new industry, a whole new market solution in global data storage, creating a revolutionary solution to a global data problem. Lonestar will operate on, above, and beneath the surface of the Moon. Our first 2 missions flew successfully with SpaceX and Intuitive Machines in 2024 and 2025. both meeting all their technical, operational, and commercial milestones in lunar transit and from the moon. These missions paving the way for our next, a series of bespoke multi-petabyte data storage satellites designed to fly in the lunar L1 Lagrange point, a strategic location between the Earth and the Moon, with the first launching in 2027. And with the future goal of building and deploying exabyte and then yottabyte level facilities in lava tubes deep in the Moon itself. Our goal is global backup, global refresh, global restore, all from the Moon, all safe, secure, accessible, and sovereign. Lonestar, saving Earth's data one byte at a time.
What an awesome video. So I wanted to kick us off with just a video because it's really well done, and I'm super excited to be talking to you because I think what you're working on is one of the most interesting and practical ideas for the lunar surface in the near term too. It feels like one of these things that just makes a ton of sense, and I want to, I guess, kick us off by asking you. How did you get the inspiration for this idea? One day where you just knocked on the head with a computer and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make data centers on the moon. How did this idea emerge?
Oh, Pablo, thank you very much. And this is it's an honor to be here today. I've been looking forward to this so much. I mean, MoonDAO, decentralized autonomous organization. And this is the very essence of data on our modern civilization. And I love this. I love your work and all that you guys do. And this came in a good way, old-fashioned, from customers. A bunch of customers came to us and said, help. Very Adam Smith, very Wealth of Nations. And they said, hey, we need help. We're worried about our data down here on Earth. We're worried about going from enterprise data centers where you build your own data centers out to hyperscalers. We're worried about all these data sovereignty laws. Data all of a sudden has a lot more value, right? It's not just stuck on a magnetic tape in a mountain. This is now used for LLMs and big data. And they said, look, we're worried about hacking, ransomwares, weather events, climate change. Help. Figure out a way to do this. And that's where it came from. Just a bunch of customers. Just a bunch of customers. So it's demand-driven, demand pull. Are we still there? Can you still hear me?
There we go.
There we go. Did you lose me for a second?
We did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh no, that was an incredible answer, and it was the perfect thing. No, there are some storms here in Florida, and what a great example of how weather can affect our networks, our data, and our technology. So, like I said, everything was customer driven. They were worried about storms and climate change and weather events. And they were worried about what was happening to their data. They're worried about all these laws, all these data sovereignty laws. If I keep my data in the wrong country, I'm in trouble, right? And they were worried about ransomware and immutable attacks on immutable data and human error, and just people hacking cable fibers and power stations. And people say that data is the new oil. I'd honestly say that data is more valuable than that. It's one of the most valuable things we've ever created as human beings, outside of other human beings. Drives everything. Our entire civilization is data dependent. And that's where it came from, meeting a market need.
Yeah. And well, your background before working in space was in government. And I'm curious how that informed what you're working on today. I mean, you took a very unique path, and could you walk us through some of the history, some of the things that you did before, and how that informed what you're working on today?
Oh, thank you. I love it. It's you never know what path life is going to take you on, and as long as you follow your passion, right? My passion was always space, but at an early age, they figured out that maybe my math and science skills in my early teenage years were not the best. So I got put into social sciences. And I then realized that, oh my gosh, space is so much about regulation and law. And I was very fortunate to go work in the US Senate and the US White House back in the 80s for Paul Sarbanes in the Senate and George H.W. Bush back at the White House and on his campaigns. And that gave me an insight into government and policy and law and regulation, how important it was, and how the whole space program was like driven by enabling law and regulation. And I then worked in the British Parliament for a long time too, looking at similar things, and then did a lot of work with anti-drug education around the world, health education. Always loved space though, always loved space. And I was able to go back to the first year of the master's program at the International Space University in 1995. I know, to me, that seems like yesterday. And I know it's not yesterday anymore. Yeah, that's how I got there. And then when I was there, I was surrounded by an incredible group of classmates, very interdisciplinary education, science, engineering, planetary remote sensing, spacesuit design, space law, which I love law, right? Space is the most regulated of all human activities. The hardest thing about getting to space is getting permission. So there I am. I came into this environment and I've got this like regulatory background. I understand how laws get made and how they're run and regulated. And it turned out to be like a little miniature superpower. And I was able to sort of take that and apply it just as the industry was expanding and commercializing back in the mid-90s in telecoms. It was really cool. I'm happy to speak more about ISU. It's an incredible organization.
Well, yeah, actually, that'd be really interesting. And I know we've got a couple other folks that graduated from ISU. You're working in government and then started classes at ISU, and that's where a lot of but you're also at NASA for a bit too.
It was, yeah, and that was part of the ISU program, which is fantastic. No, Pablo, they were great. You get to do a 4-month field placement as part of the master's program. And I was fortunate, and I was able to go to work at the Kennedy Space Center, working for the then center director, a guy called Jay Honeycutt, amazing man, amazing mentor, so lucky. I was his bubba, very southern term, and primarily learning how the shuttle program worked, which is where I met my wife, Nicole. She was an engineer, later astronaut, which is awesome. She's in the other room. She says hi. And then we're just privatizing the space shuttle program. The space flight operations contract turning into the United Space Alliance. And there was a lot of these questions. Well, how do we do this? What is the whole concept of going, gosh, they call it, okay, what's the space love acronyms, right? So GO, COCO, right? So this is government owned, government operated government owned, contractor operated. So the space shuttles were owned by the United States government, but they were operated by a joint venture of Boeing and Lockheed called the United Space Alliance. As that came from this is how laws, a DAO, look, I'm telling the guys who are part of a DAO, how laws dictate and enable everything, right? And the rules, it's amazing. So that was it. And then how to go to COCO, contractor owned, contractor operated, which is where we are today with SpaceX and Blue Origin and others flying. And you can see this beautiful path of enabling laws and regulations that allowed commerce to flourish. Oh, I loved it. So that's where I met Nicole. I got to work at NASA there. Loved it. Had the time of my life. And that was where McDonnell Douglas picked me up to go work on the Delta launch vehicle program and support something called Skynet. There is a Skynet, everybody. It's a real thing. It's been up there a long time, many of them. Hopefully the eyes don't go red.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't see a Terminator situation.
Yes.
How did I guess with any idea, there's always maybe like the version 1 of Lonestar. What did the version 1 of Lonestar look like, and how did it evolve? What was that first back of the napkin? Okay, this might work. Let's try this. And how did the idea kind of form and evolve?
No, thank you. So yeah, no, great question. Right. So originally the people that came to talk to us were pharmaceutical companies and banks who are still there with us. They're amazing. But originally it was, how do we do something on the moon that we can't do on Earth? And they were looking at all sorts of things. Artemis program was just beginning. And we were looking at them. We were working with the architect, Bjarke Ingels, who actually did our second payload for us, his team there, Molten Volk and everyone else, amazing. Big.dk is the website, an incredible architect, so cool he had a walk-on part in Game of Thrones. So we were looking at everything up there. We were looking at high containment, biohazard labs, human settlement. We did something with the Institute of Space Commerce, change.space is the website there, about, how do you watch Netflix on the moon? I'd be like, whoa, there's Netflix on the moon. We're like, no, how do you watch Netflix on the moon? So which Netflix are you watching? You're watching the American, the Argentinian, the Canadian, the French, all these different licensing. It means you have spare time. Okay. That means there's people living there. Okay. So what are they doing? How are they getting paid? You're not going to take a printing press and dead trees to the moon. You're going to have a digital currency to pay everybody. Well, how are you going to work that? And then it kind of unfolded from there. And the more we looked at it and the more we sat down with the customers, we were like, so it's really about the data and the data centers. If you don't have the data centers, you can't do anything else. And that's when they were like, yeah, actually, we have this, the original problem we talked to you about is still very much front of mind. How do we do our data? So it kind of that little sort of, kind of got big and then shrunk down and really focused on the data centers as well with the customers.
And so you guys now have 2 missions under your belt. Could you walk us through what was tested on those missions? What were the aims and goals of those missions? And just maybe end to end, what was that experience like of being on both of those missions?
Oh, it was joyous and surreal at the same time. So we've got an incredible team of people. We've got Carol Goldstein, our CFO, Mark Bertozzi, our Chief Operating Officer. Carol's former Morgan Stanley Satellites and more. Mark's former Google data center guy. We've got Jim Burns-Montante, former Draper and Honeywell. He's our Chief Engineer. Will Hawkins, our CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, former US National Army, National Guard, and former Convol. Amazing guys. And we all got to sit console and work this. It's like you put like the old days when I was at Lockheed, you put the console on and you're working a mission. It was insanely cool. And so much fun. Moments of high drama, always. And so what we did was we tested 3 things. We tested our software, our market, and then our hardware. So that first mission in February 2024, and 2 of the machines' first flight back to the moon, we tested on the way. We had a software-defined data center on board the flight computer. We tested transmitting documents in flight. We transmitted the Declaration of Independence to be the first ever document stored off planet. And we pulled back the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And that was back in February 2024, just last year. Seems like forever. And we did it in flight. And then after they landed on the moon, and they'd fallen over the first time, we were able to test it again. And we have our own mission control here and in St. Petersburg, Florida, the Maritime and Defense Hub. We were there, we were on console, on headset with the guys back in Houston, and we were able to do it. And so we did full test of the software. And software is always the hardest thing in space, right? You wouldn't think it. You would think it would be the physical aspects. But since like 1995, every single launch failure we've had a software element. It's really hard to do the software. Why is it so hard? We got so good at building things, and there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That was when this exponential technology revolution started, when, with the smartphones and all the digital rise up and Moore's law, we were running on very old tech. And so, if it ain't broke, why are you fixing it? But now we have to use more modern technology, which means more modern software. And software is always the kick. It's always the kicker. So we tested our software. The second flight this year, and the state of Florida was our #1 customer on that first test mission. We tested the market, got paid, and they were very happy. Disaster recovery, resiliency as a service, continuity of operations, really good stuff. This February, we had 9 governments, including Florida. We had 9 companies testing edge processing with us, running their apps. And this time we had hardware. We had storage from Phison. We had a PolarFi from Microchip running in RISC-V, running 2 types of Linux. We then also had an onboard or inboard hosted payload, an RMAS radiation sensor for the guys at SpaceBuilt and SkyCorp. It was tremendous. We tested everything on the way. Everything worked. This time around, we were turned on after launch, and we were the only thing on all the way to the moon. We were fully running, fully testing everything, and that was what we designed to do. So our next set of missions are going to go out to the lunar L1, the Grange point, just in between the Earth and the moon. We can talk about that why. It's going to be so much fun. And then we did 39 orbits of the moon. And by the way, we've got all the orbital tracks. We have our own, we wrote our own software for mission control. We have this beautiful GUI interface where we can see everything. And just, it's so much fun. When you're sitting there on console, you're on second shift, third shift, it's 4 a.m, and you're looking around, and yes, it's dark outside, and you're inside the mission control, and you've got the headset on, and you're going, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I'm in the middle of a mission to the moon, and I'm hearing people on the loop, and you're like, yes, sir, we'll go. It's awesome. It's so much fun. And very professional. And we got all of our work done, and our customers incredibly happy. I mean, we took a copy of Starfield. We did Imagine Dragons, a song for them. We did all sorts of things, Beam Back. We did all sorts of amazing. We did a knowledge graph for an LLM, for Valkyrie Intelligence. We tested a delay tolerant network for Vint Cerf and the Interplanetary Internet Group, the Solar System Internet Group. We had a lot of fun. We tested everything, and everything worked. Now, we turned off when they came in for landing, and they landed and fell over. So we didn't get our surface time that we wanted to. But we still got signs of life. We were happy. We didn't fall on us. But for us, we did all the testing we needed on the way there, especially for that next set of missions, which is the lunar L1 Lagrange.
Yeah, well, that tees up the next question perfectly. Yeah, what's going on with this next mission? Why the Lagrange points? What are you aiming to test? And could you maybe also walk us through the strategic importance of those points? Yeah.
Oh, very much. Thank you. So yeah, no, so Pablo, so what we did was we figured out, part of learning, you learn from tests. One of the things we learned was, well, 2 weeks of day, 2 weeks of night on the moon. No one quite has the nuclear batteries yet to keep us alive during the night. So, we can't just work for 2 weeks. We have to work all the time for our customers. So we thought, okay, well, we can't be on the surface anymore. And you have the risk of landing, like, oh my gosh. So let's get away from the surface. Let's pull back. We can still get the encryption and the security that we need with we like latency. Latency is good for us. We're not a low latency application. Think of space as a data center region. Like North America's a region, like Asia's a region, like Europe's a region, Africa's a region, South America's a region. I won't name them all. Different geography, different physical properties, different laws. Laws, we can do all this data sovereignty. It's fantastic. It works. We can get free power, free cooling. And by going out to the lunar L1 Lagrange point, there is so Lagrange, French mathematician. Say that 3 times. French mathematician. And he figured out the moon has an orbit around the Earth, right? And that there's other points of gravitational stability, the L1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They give them like numbers named after Lagrange. And it's the Earth, the moon, and the sun. A bit like a harbor in between the flows of the tides. Sometimes you'll see in a harbor, there's a little point in the middle of the harbor that just goes and swizzles. Anyone who's lived in the coast, I grew up on the Isle of Man, we're always by the ocean. And there's always that point. We can put something and it would just stay there, high tide, low tide. That's a Lagrange point. They trail behind the moon, they're behind, in front of the moon and behind the moon as it goes in orbits, one on the far side, one on the near side, one on the other side of the planet. It's just good orbital mechanics. But that lunar L1 is right in between the Earth and the moon. It's about 70,000 kilometers above the moon and about 300,000 kilometers away from us. And it is constantly in equilibrium. It's moving. Your spacecraft moves with the moon as it goes around, and we have a fantastic view. It's a beautiful place to be, and it's a very strategic place to be because of that view. It means that we can go line of sight communications into our partners and their data centers for a very secure network. And that next mission is going to be launching in 2027. We're putting 15 petabytes on that mission, and it's followed very quickly by 5 other satellites, each one doubling up. Moore's law is helping us on the data density of storage drives. We use SSDs. So that's going really well. And that's the next one, being built by a company called Sidus, SIDUS, over there in Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island, here in Florida with us. Great company to work with too.
That's awesome. So I wanted to ask, so I mean, the one of the first demonstrations that you did was with the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. Lonestar has Texas in the name. Can you walk us through like why are these the documents? Why are these the things that you're putting so much importance on in these missions? What are you bringing some philosophy into this? Some I know that you care a lot about data rights. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The rule of law is everything. I mean, I am a passionate American citizen. I chose to become a citizen because of the rule of law, because of that constitution, this idea of a nation, this idea that everyone is actually created equal, this idea that the individual liberty and individual rights are paramount, and that the state is subject to its citizens, and that state is subject to the law. I mean, it goes right back to ancient Rome. This idea of the rule of law, not the rule of a tyrant, not the rule of an oligarch, not the rule of whim or whimsy, but the rule of law, and that the law applies equally to everyone, no matter what their social standing, no matter what religion, what race, what creed, doesn't matter. The law applies equally. And that is one of the greatest things ever given to the entire human race by the United States. And you look at that Constitution and that Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, especially. My goodness, we take that for granted around here in the United States, and it's not taken for granted around the world. The idea that you can actually live your own life, this pursuit of happiness, right? I mean, people always say, oh, you can always tell an American they're smiling. Yeah, pursuing happiness, that's the whole point. And I love it. And the idea of the rights of the individual, the rights of the data they create, this idea of Web.3, the individual intrinsic rights. This is your life, no one else's. This is your data, no one else's. And it must always be protected by the rule of law. And you look at that Constitution and that Declaration of Independence as well. I mean, think of that. I mean, you've got a bunch of guys and gals sitting in coffee shops, New York, Boston, Virginia, and going, you know, I don't, the way the largest land empire in the world right now, they're infringing on my personal right, my personal liberty, my personal rights. You know, I'm so upset about this. I'm going to have a revolution. And I'm here, these 13 colonies, and we're going to have a revolution and take on the largest empire in the world and beat them. And beat them based upon personal, individual liberty and action. And a dedication and focus to something even larger than yourself, and that idea of human rights, of liberty, of freedom. Something that is so rare in human history, and something that is so precious. The most precious thing in the universe is the human mind, is intelligence. And within that, the most precious thing is our individual liberty to be who we choose to be, to worship who we choose to worship, to live our lives without harming other people, within the rule of the law, right? And that's why. So Lonestar, for me, I got my citizenship in Texas, the Lonestar state, that guiding star, that Star of David, Star of Bethlehem, that shining city on a hill that I saw America as when I was growing up. And I grew up in the 70s, and it was not fun. It was really not fun. I never, ever, in my wildest dreams, hoped I would be alive in the year 2025. I honestly, truly, and I was well-traveled, well-educated. I've been working in Washington and London. I honestly thought I would be dead in a ditch, covered in radiation burns, rifle in my hand, shooting Soviet troops. That's how we were raised, with a 3-minute warning in the UK. 3 minutes until the missiles hit from the moment of launch. America got 30 minutes. 3 minutes. Imagine the PTSD upon an entire generation where you were taught, and yet in the middle of all that chaos, of all that hurt and suffering, of all the horrible things that were going on in that Cold War. And we're in the second Cold War now. That first Cold War. Imagine the courage it took for people like Reagan and Bush Sr. and Margaret Thatcher and Pope John Paul II and so many, Lech Wałęsa in Poland, so many other individuals around the world who stood up and said, no, absolutely not. Yeah, these darkest of days, but no, we're going to have a light in the darkness. You're going to have individual liberty. We're going to stay true to that because we believe in it. And a handful of people, and they won. Holy crap, they won. And thankfully, we're all here together talking because they won. We're not in some gulag or some labor camp. As they said, sadly, so many nations around the world have prison camps up top and graveyards down below. And I think we're seeing the final playing out of some of that at the moment. in Cold War 2.0. So, Pablo, sorry, you get me going. You know what I'm like. I mean, I am passionate about
No,
this.
that's
I mean, it's,
amazing.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many directions we can go from. So, I mean, we're living in a very unique moment in world history. I mean, you look even at the last week. There's just so much going on. Um, but I guess zooming out, how do you see the domain of space playing a part in geopolitics in the next decade, let's say? Um,
Nice.
how do you see companies like Lonestar fitting into this new domain, and how do you hope that the work that you're doing impacts some of these events on Earth?
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh,
Gosh, so much to unpack there in a good way. Oh, so for us at Lone Star, no more libraries of Alexandria. A data loss so bad that happened 2,000 years ago, we still talk about it today. What was lost in that library? What knowledge? I love to read. What books can I never read? What incredible knowledge and history was lost because Julius Caesar's troops took it upon themselves to set the fire in the middle of the Roman Civil War, and then everything else molded away afterwards. Oh my gosh, right? Imagine if that happened today. There's been so many near misses on a daily basis with cyber weapons getting loose and doing horrific things, let alone intentional stuff. It's just like, wow. And that's the real reason for Lone Star. Serve the market, serve our customers, but protect the data. That's our holy grail pass. That's like, get this done. And then space itself, oh, it's pivotal. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment. This is the moment. As you said, this is the most interesting time because we are at that junction in human history where we are going from scarcity to abundance. And we finally have the tools to make this happen. Now, fire is a tool. And you hear people being worried about LLMs and doing all of the work on, is it going to go good or bad? And I'm scared of the future. It's like, no. Fire is an incredible tool, but it burns your fingers if you're not careful. Same thing with AI, right? But going beyond that, take a step back and something remarkable, something beautiful happened in the late 50s and 60s and through to today. Humanity gained another tool. That tool is spaceflight. That tool gives us access to the entire wealth of the universe. And when I say wealth, I mean energy and resources. It is the most incredible tool. It is just like fire, just like a plow, stirrups on a horse, spaceflight. Which means we can, for the first time in human history, start to pivot our economies away from scarcity. What is scarcity? Scarcity is fear. Fear of loss, fear of hunger, fear of the other person. Rivers and the word river and the word rival have the same derivation because you are constantly fighting for resources that are less and less and less as we go more and more and more. You see all these horrible wars today, and why are they being fought? Why? As Peter Diamandis says, famines are political creations now. Why? Because we have the technology to feed everybody. We now have the technology to get as much rare earth. Well, rare earth minerals are not rare in space. They're just minerals. All that free energy, all from helium-3 to space-based solar power to things we haven't even begun to think about yet because we have the tool. And we're living in that moment. And one of the greatest keys to unlocking that lock, unlocking that tool, is entrepreneurs and commerce. Just as it always had been. Now, I'm going to say something deeply controversial, and I'm saying it on purpose to get you to think about it. I would suggest that entrepreneurs ended slavery back in the 1850s and 1860s. People, no, it was the great politicians who did all these things. Yes, and they did. Politicians did amazing things in the UK, in the US, and around the world. And I know we still have slavery. We've still got to get that fixed, by the way, as a species. Not tolerable at all. Satellite communications gives us the ability to audit and monitor the world with remote sensing and use cameras. No, you're not going to be me. No, stop that behavior. Not cool. You can't hide it anymore. We've got accountability now, thanks to space. But you go back to the Industrial Revolution. And wait a minute, you mean entrepreneurs, right? I'm like, yeah, entrepreneurs creating the Industrial Revolution. Steam, everything else that came from that. And all of a sudden, it was cheaper to have a machine than have a human do it. And all of a sudden, they changed the equation. All of a sudden, slavery was not economical anymore. And all of a sudden, we could fight slavery and get people free. I mean, I think it's complete madness that anyone is constrained, anyone, anywhere on this planet, by their sex, male or female, or whatever they choose to be, or whatever color. Oh my gosh, you're humans. We're all humans together. And that was one of the beginnings of a tool. And that was just steam and the printing press. And today we have a digital renaissance. We have digital printing presses, the sharing of information, the empowering of people. I mean, how many times have I looked at a YouTube video or gone to ChatGPT to find out how to do something, which normally in the past I had to go back to trade school to figure out? All the time. We live in a golden age. But that golden age is also a very dangerous and difficult time. The last time we had a renaissance with printing presses leading to the Enlightenment and leading to our modern world, there were plagues, wars, famines, political upheaval, whole changes in economies and political discord. We got the United States out of the last one. Wow. Today, at digital renaissance, same thing. We've got climate change, we've got plagues, we've got wars, we've got political upheaval, economic upheaval. People are afraid of technology because it's changing so much. Remember sabotage, throwing the sabot into the machinery in Japan, a sabotage, right? This whole thing is happening again. We're still humans. Technology has changed. It's given us more power. And I say power, I mean power to decide our own destiny and future. Power not to be hungry, not to be sick, not to be ignorant. Whoa, what can we do with that? And at the same time, though, you've got a lot of older, I'm going to get in trouble, older, maybe, politicians, just saying it, on all sides, who live in the past, who don't see technology that we do, who don't embrace it, who don't understand the bounty of the possibilities of what this is giving us, of this incredible, glorious, golden vision of future for the human race. Close. Oh my gosh, we're this close. It's happening as we speak. Yeah, there'll be setbacks. I mean, I saw SpaceX sadly had a loss yesterday, but they'll just do it again. That's technology, right? That's entrepreneurs. The government program would have probably was hit the brakes. Entrepreneurs go, okay, do it again. Try again, try again, try again. Go for the market. And capitalism, fantastic TED talk, by the way, by Bono. I was going to say, I think his name's Paul Jackson, but Bono from U2. Go check it out. He was a committed, very left-wing person, discovered fact-based economics. It was like, oh my gosh, capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty than anything else. We're like, yes, yes. We need to lift everyone out of poverty. We need to lift everyone up and raise the standard of living. There's something unheard of. How do we do that? Energy and resources from space. And that's what Dr. Jerry Pournelle and Larry Niven wrote about in A Step Farther Out, 1979. First book on space economics. Change.space. That's the Institute of Space Commerce, part of ISU. Incredible. Jeff Bezos actually quotes directly from the opening of that book. That's where he gets the whole lift all the heavy industry off the planet stuff. Open conspiracy, save the human race. Thanks to entrepreneurs like you guys. Thanks to pioneers like you guys. You guys are pushing the boundary of everything out there with the DAO. It's the most glorious, wonderful thing to see. You guys are the future. Oh my gosh, I wish I was 30, 40 years younger, you know. It'd be such an exciting time. I'm still not that old though. I'm still involved and we're going to get done. See, Pablo, you asked me a question and this is great. I never get to talk like this, so I just unleash.
This is awesome. Well, okay, so you have a very unique background in both politics and space, and that's currently a very high entropy area, especially in the United States. I'm curious if you have any unique insights into how or the shape that things are taking right now in DC, and whether or not you are whether or not that tracks with what your vision for what NASA should be doing or what the United States should be doing in space today. And I know that could be a controversial question, but I guess tell us what you can. Yeah.
Who, me? Controversy? Oh, no. How much trouble have I get myself in all the time? Well, no, you ask a really good question. And look, this is part of that economic shudder, this change of exponential technologies coming through our governments, our institutions, our military, NASA even. And it's a moment of supreme change and a moment of supreme doubt. And it is this ability to affect change. From chaos comes opportunity. And the idea that things need to change, institutions need to change. It's a healthy thing to refresh ideas and refresh goals and refresh institutions. Sometimes it's very hard for government to do. Michael Potter from the Institute of Space Commerce and Geeks Without Frontiers, Michael Potter always says, government is linear, change is exponential. So things are changing faster than governments can react. And it's how do we handle that? And it was deeply upsetting to see that Jared Isaacman was not to be the head of NASA. Deeply upsetting. He would have been amazing. And that, a Republican president and a Democrat, fine. He would have been amazing. And I think some of the replacements, and one in particular they're talking about at the moment, will be equally as good. And I just hope they get him in there as quick as they can. There's a certain 3-star whose name's been put forward, who I'm very fortunate to have known and worked with, and I think the world of. And I think he'd be fantastic. And his passion for space, his passion for doing the right thing for the country, will shine through. And that's it. We're in a world of war. I think one of the Russian generals said, as far as they're concerned, World War III has already started. We go back and we say it probably started in 2018, sadly. And you go back and you look at the history books. And this is this ultimate end game. Satellite communications gives us something wonderful, accountability, but it also gives us the ability for global governance. The Roman Empire was never more than, the size of the Roman Empire was dictated by how far Roman legionnaires could walk and how soon they could, and how fast could they do it. Usually about 2 weeks away from water or a Roman road. The Mongol Empire, horseback riding. British Empire in the early days was steam and wind power, and then steam. And then we got to railways, telegraph, the settlement of the United States with wireless and steam railways and that whole thing. And then we got flight. And then we got space flight. And all of a sudden, you can have global governance. And I think we're fast crashing towards that. This idea of global accountability and global governance, and how does that fit into what's happening with our government institutions in the United States, which is and always will be and always must remain an absolute bastion of the rule of law and for liberty, always. I look at Lady Liberty, and if they'd let me, I'd go polish that statue every day. I think she's fantastic. This idea of America. Sometimes ideas get a bit bruised from both sides, not just one. And sometimes it's, you've got to go back and look at what actually happens, look at the facts, because we're also in a great time of media distortion. And then you've got to sit back and decide what is good for you. What are your goals? Robert Heinlein had a fantastic saying, when in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. Or get on with it. From chaos comes opportunity. Stay focused. Winston Churchill said, when walking through hell, keep walking, right? This too shall pass. Every nation in the world is going through what we're going through here in the United States. It's happening everywhere. We just have a big enough media to talk about it a lot. And we focus on us a lot. And the rest of the world looks at us, all the time. But it's happening everywhere. And we'll get through this. This whole idea of how do you educate humans, how do humans participate in democracy? DAOs. I saw the Japanese government, the Japanese prime minister, had been talking about turning Japan into a DAO. Why not? Why do we still wait until a Tuesday to go vote, right? We can all vote now. I mean, there could be an incredible education. I can go down these rabbit holes so fast. We had a friend in the other day who said, Chris, you go down so many rabbit holes, I'm going to get you some carrot cake. Right? So every time I went down a rabbit hole, carrot cake. Yeah, gluten-free carrot cake, I should say. Right? But this is a time of amazing opportunity. Think of those people during the Black Death who saw opportunity to survive and build something better. Something in the first industrial revolution, right? And this is that same time. This is that digital renaissance. This is a pivotal point in humanity. And if you don't speak up, if you don't focus on what you think is right and get involved, if you won't have a voice. It's like at a DAO. If you don't speak up at a DAO, you won't have a voice.
Right. And well, I want to take it back to data security, because I think, yeah, the we what you're working on in my mind is giving basically the shield to these ideas, to Western democracy, to these things that require data rights, and at the end of the day, that gives us the ability to be free individuals, to base our society off of, which I commend you. I think it's one of the most important problems in the world right now, and so I suppose, what do you think? And another big question. I don't know where you'll take it, but
It's always a
when we're
danger.
talking, when we're talking about lunar governance, you a bit about global governance. So the moon is, the shared heritage of people from all over the world. Global governance is extremely thorny. There are a lot of issues there.
Ooh, yes.
How do you think we should approach the problem of lunar governance? Um,
I would say competitively. Right? Now, here's why I say that. What I've noticed is that sometimes there's a tendency for people to want to have one rule, like the Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all. As we've learned, maybe not a good thing. Thank you, Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. But as we look at this, and I think competitive jurisdictions. So when you travel to space, a bit like the oceans, like space law is maritime law. And really, when you dig into it, space law is British Admiralty law. Fascinating. The idea of ships on the high seas, res nullius, res communis, rights of passage. And when you go to space, you bring all this liability to. So when the flag that you're licensed by on Earth, you don't leave the Earth without a license because of the damage that could happen and who's liable and who pays for problems and all this kind of good stuff. Really, rules of the road. Very well thought through, applied all the time. There is so much law in space. So there you are. Say you've got a settlement, and I would suggest in a lava tube. Please, everyone, you live in the moon. Arthur Clarke had that right. Heinlein had it right. H.G. Wells had it right. You live in the caves, in the lava. These massive, big, 2,700 of these things we found so far. One up in the Marius Hills is 80 meters deep, 1,000 meters wide, 93 kilometers long. One of 2,700. Go live in the moon. So you're protected from radiation and all these things. And then, okay, well, you're going to have habitats or inflatables, or what are you going to do? That's a technical. The engineers will figure that out. But why not? So when you take your licensing with you, all of a sudden, and we do this in data sovereignty, all of a sudden the world's national boundaries shrink. So you can have an American lunar lander with a Japanese rover on it. The American lunar lander is under American law. The Japanese rover is under Japanese law. It's like a Japanese embassy on board. That's how it works. So you can actually take different jurisdictions with you, but do it in a way that's never, ever been done before. So you could say, okay, I need to do pharmaceutical discovery. Well, that needs to be Swiss law. There's a reason why they're all in Switzerland. That needs to be Swiss law and maybe the canton of Zug in Switzerland. Okay, well, that dome over there could be Swiss. But, oh my gosh, I love French champagne. Well, the dome next door could be French. Next one could be British. Isle of Man, by the way, zero tax. Always good in space. Approved. One of the largest centers for space activity as well, financially in the world, for procuring assets and building things and doing stuff. For that reason, you take your jurisdiction with you and you have a choice. But all of a sudden, you could have the very best of all of these. So instead of having to choose where do I put my company on the Earth, you could have all of them. They could literally walk in between nations that no one's ever done before. So your stock exchange could be in the most advantageous part for that. Your crypto in the most advantageous part for that. Your data security, your banking sovereignty. You can do all of this. Your discovery on operations. I mean, amazing. And you keep it with you because it keeps it competitive. Because the moment there isn't competition, everything ossifies and it becomes stale. as we're finding out in markets and in life and in nature, competition is supremely important. You know, may the best one win, and keep winning, and have to keep winning, and have to keep justifying itself. And that constant change and shift and learning from different cultures and learning from different laws. And I think you'll find something that's never been seen, hasn't been seen, maybe since the Levant company back in the Middle East, maybe since, I know Hudson's Bay and East India are a little controversial, but something like that. I mean, this idea that commerce will create new ways of living, new forms of law, but you still need that anchor. You still need that stability, that rule of law. And so you take the best with you. I mean, you could be up there and you could have, you know, a Floridian part and a California part. Florida has no state income tax and California does, but California has some better product liability laws. Florida has some good IP laws. Delaware might have something. Texas has a whole lot to offer, right? Take it with you. I see loads of stories in the future where Texans have gone to live on Mars and they bring all sorts of stuff like that happen to get different cultures mixing. But that would be me. It might not be you. But that's me. I love competition. It means I get a better restaurant. I get better terms on a deal.
No, I mean, from my point of view, that sounds amazing. You know, just click and choose. Say I want to incorporate here this part. You know, I want to be under this jurisdiction for these types of laws. Yeah, I guess so. And something that other space lawyers might bring up, or you know, is how do you deal with conflict? So if you know, your rover is under Japanese law says you can do this and that, and then and another rover, you know, say maybe they want to mine the same area, and they have you know, they're maybe their laws aren't interoperable. How do you solve for these interface issues?
Oh, excellent question. And for everyone too, I should have probably mentioned, I do occasionally get to teach an international treaty law and space law. And I enjoy it because it's like,
Amazing.
It's always said to people, yeah, but I teach myself, like, how many people play Monopoly and all the hands go up? And I'm like, how many people read the rules before you play Monopoly and all the hands come down? Even mine when I was a kid, right? You just start playing. Read the rules. Oh, so great question. How do you handle conflict? How do you figure this out? Like Mark Watney in The Martian. I am so sorry. A great movie, but look, Mark Watney was not a space pirate. He was malnourished. He was not in his right frame of mind. Mark Watney was an American astronaut in an American rover from an American base under American law. Boom. Sorry, that's just how it is. But the conflict is, so that's when you look for, like in the International Space Station, you have the MOU, crew conduct, code of crew conduct. Same on space shuttles, we had multinational people coming up. I believe the Soviets had something similar. And now we have the Artemis Accords, which the Artemis Accords are just a reaffirmation of the Outer Space Treaty, Liability Convention, Registration Convention, and National Rescue. I mean, for example, most leading space nations do not recognize the Moon Treaty. Terrible piece of Soviet skullduggery on the Cold War. Probably I would say, the most effective suicide pact ever signed by the human race. Because it completely kills stone dead any economic activity on the moon or Mars or any other celestial body. Interesting. So the idea of having a code of conduct, like a DAO, how do we handle conflict? How do we do this? So if you're going to go in a certain area, you would probably have, under the Artemis Accords, you would have a relationship. It could be a guild. It could be anything. There are common rules and common law enforcement. Because of course, you're right. You can't have someone jump over a dotted line and say, haha, you can't get me. It's like, no. There's accountability. We're all the grown-ups. We're all adults. And, you know, it's a pretty unforgiving place and everyone has to be accountable. So you would do that, though, by forming DAOs and having everyone sign up to the DAO. And if they don't sign up to the DAO, they don't get the currency. If they don't get the currency, they don't get the insurance. They don't get to use the courts. A lot like some of the early towns in the American West, before the states were created. How does a federal system work? How does a individual town, city, local governance work? That would be me. But what do you guys think? That's why you have a DAO. Awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's a huge question. We had Michael Castle-Miller on,
Mm.
who specializes in special economic zones, and he had some very interesting ideas. He's published a revision of a white paper, the 2024 edition of the Lunar Development Cooperative, which I think is one of the more practical approaches, where you start with infrastructure, and then companies that want to use that infrastructure have to abide by some laws or policies, to be a part of this group. And that feels to me like there's something there. You're providing something useful to the companies. They want to use whatever communications infrastructure or power infrastructure, whatever it is, that they don't want to build themselves. It's too expensive. So they say, hey, I'll be a part of your consortium, your group, and abide by your rules. And I think there's something there. But
there definitely is. Michael's work is fantastic too.
yeah.
Well, here's
But
something.
yeah.
We just triggered an idea, Pablo. Sorry, you know me. If it's in my head, it'll be out in a second. If I don't, you made a really important point on Michael's work on special economic zones. Here's one of those hidden truths in space: 100% of the money spent in space isn't. It's spent down here in our economies, on houses, restaurants, dry cleaners, cars, roads, taxes, everything. And so, as we go forward to the moon and other places, I would suggest that, Earth is where the major market is. Earth is where the customers are. Earth is where the investors are, for the most part, when things are getting going. Earth is where the lawyers are. And lawyers and money tend to go together. And this idea that, when we're up on the moon and doing things, the ultimate accountability for everything from a police force to a space force to the enforcement of treaties and laws will more than likely come from Earth-based organizations that are operating in the lunar environment for some of the investors, the corporations, etc. And so that accountability will also then be tied back to actions on Earth, diplomacy, banking, and more, and regulation, and which in itself becomes a competition as to who has the best, most enabling laws and regulations to encourage commerce. Right. You mentioned special economic zones from Michael, which is a great idea. It's an amazing idea, actually, that kind of triggered in the back of my mind.
Yeah, no, I think we're so lucky. We're getting like a seminar, and
Right.
I actually didn't know that you taught on this, which is incredible.
Oh, there's poor students. They're all postgraduate lawyers, and I teach occasionally circuit court judges here in Florida too. I know it's a cure for insomnia. They put me in the room and sound of my own voice.
So we're almost up at the hour. So I wanted to ask kind of a catch-all question: is what have we not asked that you'd like to share with us?
Oh gosh.
What have we been missing from this conversation? Any updates from Lonestar that haven't gotten out there yet, or what are the what are the insights that maybe I wouldn't have been able to ask yet?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's been amazing. Think about what happens more than the moon, and how what happens on the moon dictates everything in legal precedent for all the other celestial bodies. Mars, moons of Saturn and Jupiter. What you guys are doing is seminal to the entire future of the human race, which is amazing, and I love it. You guys are like a bunch of people in a coffee shop in Boston deciding to have a revolution in a very, very healthy, good way. And I love that. Thank you. With us, keep an eye on the press coming up soon. We're just closing out our A round, which is great, but also more importantly, we're going to be making some announcements. Check a look at our website, look at the media section, and you'll see an old press release from of an MOU we signed with the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, the NRAO, to do very long baseline interferometry missions. And as we put that next spacecraft up there, that 300,000 kilometers away, going up in 27, technically, we will have created the largest scientific instrument in human history. And that is also a revolution in science and discovery and all. In these darkest of days, technology and entrepreneurism coming together to do a whole new, awe-inspiring view of the universe. So how about that for a bombshell? Not quite. I haven't got a microphone. I can't drop the mic. But that you're keeping out in the next couple of, and then probably in the next, just towards the end of the summer, the official news will be coming out about that. It's pretty cool.
That's wild. Yeah, you've blown my mind. Okay. All right. We'll stay posted for that. That's incredible.
Heard it here first. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Okay, well, we're here up at the hour. I want to be respectful of your time. This has been really, really incredible. Honestly, one of the better conversations. I don't know if I should say that, but you've been amazing, and hopefully we can get you back here soon. And yeah, I'll kick it over to Ryan. So we'll continue. We actually use these as our town halls as well. So we'll go through and review different projects, and if there are any proposals, we'll vote on them. But I know you're a very busy person. You don't have to stick around, but we'll get moving with the rest of the town hall here. So yeah, once again, thank you so much, Chris. Really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Pablo. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody. And have a good meeting. I'll leave you to it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that was a phenomenal conversation. So many nuggets of wisdom, such an amazing just seminar covering history, policy, law. This is definitely one I'm gonna have to go back and just watch the recording over again, because there was like so much to digest there. Yeah, we don't actually have any project roundtable updates, it looks like, this week. So I guess just one more quick thing to add. I know everybody's kind of
I lost Ryan. I don't know if anyone else lost Ryan here.
You guys hear me?
There we go. I can hear you now. I heard you for a second there, Ryan, but there we go. I think I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now, Pablo?
Yeah. Yes, this works. Yep.
Maybe I'll turn my camera off. I don't know what's going on. Discord's being a little buggy for me, but yeah, we're coming up here on the end of the quarter, and I just wanted to remind folks that community contributions should be submitted by July 8th. So if you have any sort of extra independent contributions that you've been working on, advancing the space economy, space industry, helping spread the word about MoonDAO, anything like that, that is all good to submit for contributions, and you'll be eligible for ETH rewards and vMooney voting power as we cycle things in at the end of the quarter. We've gotten a few great contributions, one recently from Peter Haag and his X space. Also, Austin Wilson submitted his contribution, a little article that they wrote up about him and his video editing. Little shout out there to MoonDAO too. So yeah, please do use the link here, moondao.com/contribute, get your contributions in before the end of the month. And yeah, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in today for this super awesome talk. Stay tuned for future guests. We're working on getting some more really, really cool people to come through here in the next week or two, just locking that down. But yeah, we'll see you next week, Thursday, same time, same place. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.